Get up on the HYDRA's back! 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 Like, all the heads have been cut off. The Keyblade Master reigns supreme. The HYDRA has been slain. After being assured that it would not be possible, that more and more HYDRA heads would spring forth, that emulation was here to stay, after Nintendo took down Yuzu, we were told, we were assured that more and more emulation forks would pop up and would be unassailable, that they would not be taken down, that there's nothing Nintendo could do, that there would continue to be Switch emulators on the market, and yet the reality has been quite a bit different. You know, no matter how many forks there are, whether they're like sue you or suck you or like fuck you, you know, like no matter what they come up with, no matter what they do, every single one of them has been DMCA. Nintendo has issued a warning, a DMCA, to the host of the GitHub of all these different emulators that encompass the work of thousands of pirates worldwide to take this shit down. And the community is seething because they know where the industry is headed. And they're trying to, like, pretend as if it's, like, not a big deal. They're trying to do this thing where they're just like, oh, well, Sony v. Bleem still applies. The law protects us. What we do is completely legal. As if they aren't just getting taken down all the time. As if emulation is getting cracked down on. The Switch 2 emulator still hasn't taken off the ground. You know, we are reaching the point where the Nintendo Switch emulators are like 10 years old now, right? You know, I remember they were coming out like when Breath of the Wild first came out, right? These things are 10 years old now, and they're still getting taken out. They're still getting taken down. You know, developers are cucking. They're being forced to pay millions of dollars, and everyone's like making excuses, like, oh yeah, this guy is just a sellout. You know, it only happened because of this. Like, emulation itself is perfectly legal, and the reality is, it's not, okay? Do you really think Nintendo is in a position where they're going to lose to a bunch of smelly WoW-playing nerds on the internet? Do you really think you have any kind of legal high ground? Like, let's be completely honest. Like, Sony v. Bleem is fraudulent and really should be overturned. But this that's not really necessary at this point, because what we're seeing now is an organization of people who are desperate to keep up the facade that PC gaming is relevant and that it can, like, play Nintendo games perfectly legally. And of course, that's not true. That never was true. That never will be true. But, like, what you're seeing is just Nintendo essentially closing every single legal loophole they can, right? They don't need to take down piracy right away. As opposed to, like, pirates who are, like, desperate to get, like, the new Zelda game running day and date, right? You know, Nintendo doesn't need to shut down piracy, like, right away. What they need to do is slowly just crack down on the major players, slowly close up the legal loopholes, and just slowly choke this this industry out of existence. And that's what we're seeing now. You know, you look at, like, these 4chan threads of people talking about this, and they're just like, oh yeah, all you have to do is, like, encrypt ROM files and do this in order to make it completely legal. And it's like, it's too convoluted and ridiculous for anybody to bother with. You're better off just buying a Nintendo Switch 2 and buying the game on it, okay? There is no reason to think that piracy, that emulation is the desirable form of playing these games. But, you know, without this specific thing, without emulation, like, the entire PC grift just completely falls apart. Like, without this aspect of PC gaming, there's no real arguing that Nintendo is the console leader. I feel like people don't realize just how desperately the PC gaming community needs these emulators for the illusion to stay relevant. Because that's been the talking point for, like, 20 years now, is that like, this idea that like PC can play everything. Like you can just pirate everything on PC for free. There's no reason to pay for games, right? You can just steal them. Like, yeah, fuck the companies. Like, you see people do this all the time, run their mouths, like do all this nonsense, pull all these crazy moves, do all these things, and yet the reality is, the definitive way to play these games is always going to be on Nintendo hardware. Okay? Switch 2 emulation doesn't even exist yet. Okay? So if you're going to play, like, say, the up-res Breath of the Wild, or a Nintendo Switch 2 version of a game, or even a Switch 2 exclusive, you're going to have to buy a Nintendo Switch 2, and there's no way around that. And what we're seeing now is that we're not talking about the Switch 2 emulator. We're talking about protecting old Nintendo Switch emulators. You know, we haven't even moved on to the Switch 2 yet. You know, the way things are turning out now is that Nintendo is cracking down hard on Switch 1 emulators. And I think that will be their strategy going forward, is they don't need to go after the older the hardware, because, you know, games are getting re-released on the eShop and through Nintendo Classics, like through their superior online service. They need to protect their current industry, their current business, and slowly start legally protecting themselves from pirates and criminals. And I think you're going to find more and more that the courts, that the government are overwhelmingly going to side with Nintendo on this. Like, do you really think the industry is going to give a shit about, like, Sony v. Bleem when this is, like, a more organized kind of, like, so I believe the Bleem lawsuit, like, it let you play, it was easier to pirate Dreamcast games, right? Like, I think you could, like, just take the disc and then, like, rip it and then, like, play it on something else, right? You know, that was the cult when it came to Bleem. Like, when it came to, like, with modern emulation, when you have dudes, like, distributing files online, which is illegal, again, like, it's just going to get cracked down on, right? Like, that's the reality of what we're seeing here, is that we are seeing the beginning of the crackdown on the emulation community as a concept. And that's why we're seeing so many people freak out about this, because the inevitable result of this is that Nintendo wins, the emulation community loses, and the PC master race just completely falls apart. Because without the illusion of having Nintendo games on their platform, everybody will know that the PC master race doesn't have shit. And that's what we're going to see a lot more of going forward. That is how the emulation community dies. It's just complete and total Nintendo domination.